Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Life Uncorked and a very special Happy New Year to you all. Karen,
Woo!
how you doing?
I am doing great. Can you believe it's the new year? How did that
No,
happen?
don't we say that every week?
I say that every week. Well,
Well,
cheers to
cheers.
the new year.
Cheers
Cheers.
to the new year. We hope that you all had a beautiful holiday and are ready for this new year 2024. It seems like it's out of an, Orwellian novel.
I know. But it's going to be a great year, and we're going to kick it off with a bang. Because we hate resolutions, right? We just totally hate the whole
So done.
resolution thing.
Yeah, no.
So when we were talking about what were we going to do, we had this epiphany, and that was, how do we want to be remembered? Why don't we begin with the end in mind? Instead of saying what we want to do this year, why don't we talk about how we want to be remembered? So, Mel, I mean, do you, I think about this all the time. I really do.
I think I do in terms of more, not so much how I want to be remembered when I'm gone, but how I hope I'm thought of now. And I
Mm,
hope that carries through. And for me, it's that I love my family
yeah.
and that I'm always hopeful.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And hope is a really big
Hope.
word right now, right?
Yeah.
As we
I'm
continue.
positive.
Yeah.
I mean, I am, I'm I think I've shared this in previous episodes. My kids gave my husband and I hashtags, I'm proud mom, he's no filters. And my friends actually gave me one. They carried it a step further and gave me the hashtag silver linings. And
Mm.
I think it's because I write about that. And I always do choose to find the positive. And I hope that reflects in how I live my life and the legacy I live behind, that I chose the positive outlook.
Well, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
How about you?
I, you know, I want people at the end of the day, and it does, and let me rephrase that. At the end of the day, only thing that matters is how I remember, how I think about myself. Because if I show up worrying about what everybody else is thinking about me, then it's going to change how I show up. And so, with that as a caveat, I'm hoping that somewhere after I'm long gone, that when people think about me, they think about how I showed up in service. And that really my first question was always, how can I support you? And that is really who I feel I am at my core. And I hope that people know that and realize that and have experienced that with me. That's how I want to be remembered.
That's beautiful. And I think I can tell you that's how I think of you now. When I need something, you're there. When I ask, if you don't know the answer, you find it. You are always there to help and connect and offer yourself however you can to others. It's beautiful.
You. Thank you. And and I hope that, we have kids, but we both have kids, and I hope that I put that on them as well, and that they in turn want to go out and be of service and maybe take a lead from me. I don't know if that's easily done though, right? I mean, because they're not me, right?
They're not, but I think you see it now. We both have adult children, and we see the paths that they choose and the way that they conduct themselves. And there's no greater compliment that I get from the outside. And I don't look for other people to approve or disapprove of how I've raised my children. But when people come to me and whether they knew them growing up or now as adults, comment on what incredible young men they are, and kind and giving and gracious, it warms my heart because I know that I am leaving the world a little bit better in their hands for them to carry on.
I read an article that in years and years from now, we're gonna be just like the great grandparents we don't remember, right? And
Yeah.
that because we don't talk about them as much, and so the how we are remembered are by the people that are remembering us.
Right.
And there is a when you do things without worrying about how it makes you look, and instead you do it just because you
Mhm.
want to do it, um, people remember that. And I try to remember the relatives in my family that some of them I never met, and so
Right.
I actually know them through pictures or stories. And so I hope, as I continue on, that my kids will tell stories about, well, nice stories. Hopefully they'll tell good stories about me. And in
Some
turn,
funny ones.
right. I mean, and obviously, I mean, I know in your family, with your kids having been with you in and the re-empty nest, now that you're now in an empty nest again, but they were with you and they were you were creating all of these memories with them. And so if you were to ask them how they remember their Nana, right?
Yeah, I think that I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think whether you can be there, be with your family physically or via Zoom now, we're
Right.
fortunate to have the electronic communications that we didn't. FaceTime, we can be connected in such a more personal way than in
Right.
past. Our abilities to remember that, however you are present with them is what
Mhm.
matters the most.
There's a poem that I used to do when I did a lot of funerals. I officiated at funerals, and there was a poem that was called "We Will Remember." That's literally a poem. We will remember in the rustling of the leaves. We will remember in the flowing stream. We will remember, and all those things will bring those memories back. Do you feel that there are things that will tweak a memory about somebody in your
Oh,
family?
I do. And I feel that even to this day, as I'm cooking and I make my grandmother's spaghetti sauce, which it takes me back to my teen years trying to get her to write down the recipe, which, as anyone out there who cooks, but especially little Italian grandmas, they don't use a recipe. And I literally followed behind her, taking spices and things out of her hand to measure in a cup. And to this day, I don't use a recipe for it. But all I have to do is think I'm going to make spaghetti, and I am immediately transported to being in the kitchen with her, learning how to make it. So I think that that's a thing to carry on. And those are traditions, not necessarily in the traditional sense of the word
Right, right,
tradition,
right.
but they are such an integral part of the fabric, and they're woven so tightly that and beautifully that it creates a magnificent opportunity to carry them on through generations.
Yeah, I mean, I was making potato pancakes
Mhm.
during the holiday season, and my kids were telling me, my youngest, my kids, he's 38, was telling me he
Baby.
remembers me making latkes with
Mhm.
a shower cap on.
Oh,
That's because, the oil and the smell.
yeah.
And
Well, and you talked about that last month,
I would
how to
stand
make
there with him.
latkes. Yeah.
I don't know if I want to be remembered for that, but
Oh, I
but
think
those are
so.
those are the memories, right?
Yeah.
That we put together that become the whole totality of who we are, and we are made up of all these memories, I think.
Yeah. It's, and I think that that is, if we lean into the word legacy, it's as much what we leave behind as what they carry forward, because we
Beautiful.
are who we are, we've done what we've done, and what they take from that are our offspring and the people that meant so much to us. What they
Right.
carry forward is the true legacy of what we have left.
I think that's beautiful. We hope that you all start the year beautifully like we are. Again, it's 2024, and we wish you a wonderful first week of the year. Wow.
Gosh, and we hope for continued peace. Oh, excuse me, and light, and cheers to 2024.
Cheers. And don't forget, check out down below in the copy, anything that we talked about, where you can find us and all the different social. Check it out. Let us know, not don't let you know. Let us know how you want to be remembered. We want to know how you want to be remembered. Let us know, and we will maybe share some of those thoughts. If you haven't already picked up our Napa travel guide, you want to make sure you pick it up. The link is down below. Really great resources. Mel and I
And it
actually,
really is the ultimate travel
it
guide.
is.
We spent a fair amount of time up there. Caren lived there, so
Right.
we took opportunity to show you Napa like you have never seen it, and you'll want to experience it. Check it out.
Absolutely. Go out. Have a good day, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Life Uncorked. We're thrilled to be here. I'm Mel Greenberg.
And I'm Karen Glasser, and it's time to drink. Cheers.
Cheers. This is water, and I'm not doing the whole dry January thing, but I did make a promise to myself to drink more water. As much as you think you need, especially in our living in the
Right.
desert and dry climate in the winter, you're not as inclined to drink
Right.
water because it's cold.
And you
You need
feel
it
it
more.
everywhere.
You
My skin
do.
is
And there's more
chapped, the whole
cases
thing.
of dehydration in the
Right.
desert in the winter than in the summer, which kind of goes against the grain
Which
of
is
normal
weird.
thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just made a promise just to keep drinking more water and wine.
And wine. Water and then wine. Maybe all together. They say when you're drinking
Well,
wine,
every sip,
right?
yes, and I do do
Do
that.
some water. So
I do
this
that.
is cutting edge stuff that we're talking
I
about.
know.
Yeah.
This week we're kind of excited to talk about something carrying on the idea of our legacy
Mhm.
and what we want to leave behind. And I'm wondering, and you can please share in the notes, share with us, are you familiar with an ethical will?
Yeah. We've heard about trusts, we've heard about living trusts, we've heard about wills and things like
Mhm.
that. And ethical will is such an interesting concept. And I think it's maybe, if possible, more important
I
than
completely
actually the
agree.
will,
I mean, we all need what
Right.
you're going to need, the physical properties, the trusts, the this, the that. But this goes deeper on a much more beautiful level.
So first, a quick definition of what an ethical will actually is. It's a document. It's a piece of paper that you write down and convey your values, your beliefs, your life lessons, everything that you would like to impart on people that come after you and family, specifically your kids. I mean, very specifically your kids, so that they know who you were and what you stood for. So I know you have a great story.
But I was going to ask you, like, is it something that you can explain a little bit more? Do you really need, it's not a formal legal document.
No,
It's a
it's not a formal
wish
legal
list
document.
kind of that you leave a love note to your family.
Oh, I love, yes, it's really a love note, but I would say it's even deeper than that because it's a love note that says, you are who you are because of the things that I hope I imparted onto you. Kind of that it's that kind of thing. So, in an ethical will, you might want to talk about what's important to you, like that your grandparents that you've always honored your grandparents and the people that came before you and why do you, because their values also, their ethical will
Yeah,
was what brought you forward.
right.
So for that, I mean, that would be one of those things that you would share some stories, things that
Yeah.
happened in your past.
Well, and I've shared my story. My mom passed away when I was quite young, and she actually left me long before this that I even knew this was a
Hmm.
thing. Several written pages of who she was, what she prayed for us, my brother and I going forward, what she hoped for our lives, what had been important to her, and what she hoped she left us and instilled in us. So honestly, I've been holding on to her ethical will without realizing it had a formal name. It was just beautifully, and it was what I loved. It's handwritten, so I have a treasure of her writing still. It's not
I
typed, and I
love
think I
that.
would do that. Because I'm going to do this. I think it's a beautiful exercise and it's a precious gift to leave those you leave behind. But I think I'm going to handwrite it because that's you. It's a piece
Right.
of, it's like leaving a voicemail. I mean, it's something that I look to and I picture her handwriting and I can see her sitting at a table writing. So it's a beautiful thing. I'm going to handwrite mine.
And one of the other things you might want to include, not you in particular, but you're a chef, you're a cook, and there might be some those recipes that you were saying that brought you back in the
That's a
past. You
great
can
idea.
put
Karen,
recipes.
I love that.
Oh yeah, I mean, put
Yeah,
recipes
yeah.
in there. The books that you love to read, because the books you read really tell the people who you really are, what kind of things you like. These are
Well,
out of the box kind of things.
you could almost carry the whole the will aspect of it further. And I just thought of this while you were saying that. Make almost a time capsule
Ooh, I
that
love
you
that.
leave for your children.
I really, really like that.
And maybe it's like a pass to the Eiffel Tower because they know you loved Paris or
Right.
something you did together as a family, lift tickets from a family ski trip. Little things that draw you together, whatever, a time capsule, but that would be kind of
Yeah,
neat.
and photographs and the photographs of
Photographs,
your
yeah.
family, all of that stuff.
Recording.
It's the stuff to remember where you came from. I mean, I've recently gotten involved with not gotten involved, but I have a huge family that had lost touch with each other throughout the years. It used to be they would get together for picnics and they would get I mean, not just the immediate family, but the extended family, and then they stopped. And I don't know why. And so one of the things that I want to find out and pass on to my kids is the legacy from that experience and putting
Yeah,
together new events now for the families that are still here, the new families, the younger generation of families.
right.
So
Well, have you come across a site that you particularly like that offers the
I
explanation and perhaps templates for
I
those that
abs
want to go down
yes.
that road?
So one of the articles that we've both been reading is from a place called everplans.com. We'll put it down in the copy. And it talks about how to write an ethical will, the different components, but it also has, and the one that we happen to like, but you can find them all over, is how you can download it and actually fill out the form. If you really have no sense of where to start, because this is a new concept for a lot of people,
Yeah,
right? It's normally I'm leaving
right.
my money to such and such. This is
Well,
different.
and sometimes having bullet points to start out to get you,
Mhm.
then you're on a roll. You
Right. I
just
mean, some of the things
starting
might be like determine what you want to communicate.
right.
Consider what they might want to hear from you, right? You might want to talk about your thoughts and your feelings, your dreams, your hopes, your desires, your values. And values is a very important word for me. I think that I want my kids to have the same values that I have, hopefully, right?
Well, and I think that doing this also helps. It would likely help the connecting process because you're going to feel a different interconnection with your children
Mhm.
that you're leaving behind going through this because you're going to really have to draw out what you want to say to them. And values is a beautiful one a thread that you want to carry forward.
And I think it's important. The most important thing is to express your gratitude and your love for those who you leave behind so they know how much you love them. It breaks
Sometimes,
my heart. I hear stories of adults that don't know that their parents love
yeah,
them and don't know that they had grandparents that love them. I don't want to be that person, right?
no. And the smallest thing to you could seems completely
Right.
insignificant when you leave it like this. A child, grandchild, great grandchild may be reading through, and whatever they're going through in their life at that time will really touch them and make a world of difference to them.
It truly. I love this topic. I really love this topic. I hope that you guys like it too, and that you maybe consider looking and doing an ethical will. As I said, we're going to put all the stuff down there, so go check down there in the copy.
And check out Everplans because it really spells it out. And there are several sites you can
Mhm.
just Google ethical will. I was shocked at what came up because honestly, until recently, hadn't been familiar
Right.
with that term. And there's so much out there, many resources and books and ideas to get you started. And it's a beautiful legacy.
It really is. And I think also at the end of the day, when you can share it with those loved ones, your kids, and literally have a nice experience around it. Don't wait till you're dead, is what I'm saying. Don't wait till you're dead for them to discover your ethical will sitting with the rest of the wills.
Right.
Give it to the people that matter.
Yep. I love that.
So we'll see you all next week. Have a good one.
Take care. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week on Life Uncorked. We're so glad you're here with us. Joining me today to share her fabulous story of aging like a fine wine is Sheila Hayesfield. She's the founder and president of Valley Girl Inc., and you may know her as the Valley Nana on Instagram. Sheila, welcome. How are you doing right now? Just kind of what's going on?
Everything's good. I'm still doing some physical therapy because I have back issues, like, talk about aging.
Yeah.
So fine wine right this minute, but it's actually getting much better. So
Oh, good. I know. Doesn't it seem like sometimes you wake up and you're fine, and then within minutes, it's like, where
I
did
know.
this come from?
That's how I felt when I came back here. I thought, oh, this is great. I can do this and that and the other. And
Yeah.
it slowed me down a little bit, but I just did a trunk show the other day. So
Yeah, I
that
don't
was,
think much slows you down. It would
no.
take more than that. Yeah, you're amazing. In fact, that's why you're here, to share your incredible story. You were approaching 60 one day and you just said to yourself, I can't do this anymore.
Well, it was really exactly what happened. I was vice president of a bank doing their marketing and, pulling on the pantyhose and putting on the suit and slipping into the Ferragamos and thinking, oh my God, I cannot do this the rest of my life and I can't afford to retire. So I have to come up with an alternative retirement plan. So I had visited Bali 10 years prior, and it just resonated. They had just gotten electric. It was strung, on a bamboo
Yeah.
through the rice fields. And I had one bare light bulb in the middle of the room and hanging from the
contrast.
ceiling and no hot water and no flush toilet. And it was a huge contrast, and I felt at home.
So that inspired you to change directions and leave your.
Well, it wasn't quite that easy. I went back, to see if it still resonated. This was 10 years prior. I had a cousin that had moved there in 1991. And I had been on a horse trek in New Zealand and looked at a map and thought, oh, he's only this far away. I'll go see what Richard's up to. But I came back and kept working. And so when this happened at 60, I thought, okay, I've got to think of a 5-year plan. So I came back from that trip and thought, this is it. I'm going to put it all into place. One thing led to another. And I finally woke up another morning and thought, you know what? I'm going to turn 65 and say, I should have done this 5 years ago.
Did you find when you turned 60 that, because we've always celebrated the 10-year milestones, 20th birthday or 21st, but 30, 40, 50, 60. And then my husband and I went through that. It was like at 60, we're like, we're going to start celebrating the big ones every 5 years.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden 10 years, I don't know, it seems a bit long.
You're right. And every 10 years, I would picture myself 10 years, in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And it was never anything like that, right? Life happens. and
It does.
And usually for the better. You just make it better.
I love that. You make it better. That's exactly right. So what drives you now? And tell us a little bit about the company, because it's a pretty drastic change from
working. It was from bank marketing.
Yeah.
Well, I did end up saying, I have to do this sooner than later. So the 5 months became, instead of 5 years, became the plan. I moved there 22 years ago now. I just turned 82. And I had no idea what I was going to do when I was there. He wanted me to join him in his business. He had a clothing business, but I said, no, I really wasn't going to continue in business. I thought, okay, let me just take it easy and travel a little bit.
And of all places, Bali, just relax and.
You're right.
No,
exactly. I had been working for the first 5 years. So anyway, I hired one artist, and we had a business of hand painting carios, sarongs, and matching shirts. Was how I started the business with her. And they were all on the cotton voile and beautiful. And I sold them in the hotel boutiques, like the Four Seasons, the Ritz-Carlton, all the luxury hotels. And I didn't want to compete with that business because we had a store. She got the store. I just, sort of walked away. And so I ended up hiring one artist that wasn't working for us before. That I lived in Ubud, so that's an artistic community.
One of my favorite places.
I know. It was fabulous.
Magic. Yeah.
And if you're creative at all, even if you're not, you can't help but be creative. I think there. You're just surrounded. Everything the Balinese do is artistic. Yes. From their offerings every morning to every food that they present. So I just am amazed. I love process, and I loved watching the artisans work. So I thought, well, I'll hire one guy and see what one artist and see how that works out. As it was, I ended up going back to the States, and a woman who had visited my home when I had the other business said that she wrote for copy for Travelsmith catalog. And did I have anything? They were going to do a destination Bali catalog. And did I have anything that I wanted to submit for
As a
consideration?
matter of fact.
And I sent a few things off to them. One was I had asked this artist that I had hired to paint about just a huge piece of silk fabric. I was
Mhm.
going to do one-of-a-kind caftans, but there wasn't time by the time I left. So I split it down the middle and made 2 scarves out of it. And I had them both with me. And of course, they liked the hand painted one and ordered 250. So I had an order before I had a business. So I went back to Bali, hired 10 artists, all my neighbors,
Gosh.
and, started my business. And they sold out when they sent out the email with with the photos. They sold out and back ordered. So they asked me for 250 more. I had to hire 10 more artists because now we're in a rush, mode.
Right.
And they were all the artists were painting the same design, and they're all hand painted.
Mhm.
So, they did it and looked similar. And then they sent out the print catalog. The print catalog featured my scarf on the front cover and on the back cover. And that started selling. They ordered another, 700. And we were just scrambling. I practically had, I had a studio next to my house, and everybody kept shifting around, and, so that they could all fit in. It was
Wow.
amazing. It was so much fun. I did product for them every year for about 4 years. And then I thought, this is not why I'm here. This is way, I really want to do this in a more creative way. So we stopped that relationship, and I started back again with the hotels and with just scarves. And then I started making bathing suits to go with the caftans. Whatever I wanted to wear, I would make.
Right.
Because I love the process and I wanted to know how things were done there.
So your 5-year plan turned into a 20-year plan as we sit here today.
Yes.
You're back in Florida. Do you still go back and forth to Bali?
I haven't had a home here since 2004, but I just did rent an apartment. I have now children and grandchildren who are married, and
Right.
lots more happening here.
No, and once you have grandchildren, I think I find especially it changes your thought about where you might like to spend so much of your time.
And I like the spontaneity that I have when I'm here because, for instance, a granddaughter called me up one day and her brother was coming to visit. She's working in Atlanta, and my grandson was coming to visit that weekend with his girlfriend. Another granddaughter was going to be there that weekend for a wedding. And she said, and we're all having lunch together on Saturday. We wish you were here. So I got on a plane and I went.
Oh, wonderful.
I can't do that from Bali,
No,
so.
well, not easily. Not by lunchtime, that's for sure.
Not by lunchtime.
Sheila, you have an acronym that I absolutely love. It's PIBE. Tell us all what that means. Because this just exactly, yeah, I love it.
My kids had this hat made. The PIBE stands for play it by ear. And that's pretty much what I've done for the last 22 years.
It is. And what a beautiful way to make your way through your life. And at your age, you're thriving. I want to know how you would like to be remembered.
The best thing I can tell you right now is I'd like for people to smile when they think of me and think of my smile. Because I was with some friends last night and I told them about that question. And they all said, well, we all think of you as smiling. I don't think I've ever seen you not smile. And I said, well, I'm happy. I have a wonderful life. Why shouldn't I be smiling all the time? And I think the biggest compliment I ever got was a friend who's told me that when she saw my name on the phone ID, she started smiling and couldn't wait to answer it. And I thought,
I get that because
compliment.
We first spoke, it's been a few years now, and we don't know each other personally. And when I hear your voice, I smile. You just
so
bring
nice.
joy. You bring joy.
Thank
And
you.
I'm so glad to introduce you to our community now. For those that didn't know you, how can they get in touch with you? Where can they see your work? What's your website?
Well, my website is still breezecollection.com.
And get your credit card ready.
Yeah, get your credit card because everything's 60% off now.
Oh my gosh.
I
Okay,
am
I
trying.
didn't need to know that, but now I do.
the I am actually trying to close down the business finally. I think that it's kind of time that I do. So I sent a lot of things here to a warehouse and had to pivot to go online and and Instagram, and that's called It's a Breeze.
Which is perfect for you. I have
And
a feeling you might, my thought, you're going to shut that down, and I don't think you're done. I think that's
no, there's another chapter or two.
Yes, absolutely. Sheila, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm thrilled to learn more of your story, and everyone out there. Isn't she amazing? Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, Mel. I love talking to you anyway. Thank you.
We'll
It's
see
been
you next
it's
week.
been a magic life. It really has been wonderful.
Well, and smile, everybody. It's great advice and a beautiful way to end the day. Ciao.
Ciao.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Life Uncorked. I'm Mel Greenberg.
And I'm Caren Glasser. We're glad you're here. Time to cheers.
Time for cheers. Hope you have had a fabulous January. I can't believe it's almost over. The days fly by. We have had a great run this month. It's been wonderful.
We have. And we've been having a lot of fun introducing you to some of the phenomenal people in our community, our network. Really, they're just doing extraordinary things. They're clearly not boring. And you and I decided we don't want to be boring too.
Right. And I actually came across an article a while ago in the Wall Street Journal on this very subject, and it really struck a chord with me that we get to this stage in our lives, and a lot of times the reason we feel lost is because we're not doing anything new, because we are, whatever it is, we're set in our ways, if you will. And there's that saying, when you get older, you're not going to change, you're set in your ways. And the way to get past that is to commit to doing things and experiencing things that are completely new. And I want to think I never stop learning and I've never stopped being open, but you do kind of get on that hamster wheel of just doing what we did, and we are who we are. And this presented the idea that we don't have to settle for that.
We don't. We don't. We were talking before we started doing the show today how I actually think I'm boring these days, and I'm going to have to like up my game because for the past how many years I've been sitting in my house not going out. And now that we want to go out, we don't have a clue as to what we're supposed to be doing. I don't know, Mikey, what do you want to do? I don't know, Caren, what do you want to do? And
Right.
it's that whole idea of we literally now have to decide how we're going to live this amazing life moving forward and not being boring, for God's sake.
Well, I find too that I catch myself thinking it's too much. I don't have the bandwidth. I can't learn this. I don't want to learn. I don't want to take on something new because it's going to stress me out. And I'm really happy. I have a beautiful life, and that's a good thing. But by the same token, you need to keep working that muscle. Our brains are muscles, and we need to keep exercising them. And that comes with really challenging yourself to learn new things. Caren, have you thought about what that might look like for you?
I
You said
have
you really
actually.
want to step outside your house, if you will.
Outside my now that I'm gonna so I already started when we started doing girls trips. I that's to me is not being boring, is leaving my house, going somewhere really fun and doing it with girlfriends and doing something like that. That's like on my list for next year.
Well, you're off to a good start because I got to share that with you, and we did have a really good time on our trip to
And I
Napa.
can't wait to do it again. I
I
mean,
know.
truly, I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah.
Why stop at one, right? A friend of mine was telling me all about these women who come together in their RVs and they like hundreds and hundreds of them. I'm not going to do that. And it sounded cool, but not for me.
Yeah.
And they all gather together in their RVs, just a bunch of women. And just, they're just being women and being themselves and exploring and not being scared, not being scared.
Scared is a big word. And I think that that's at the heart of my kicking my heels or digging them in, not to try new things,
Mhm.
because I find myself a little more apprehensive with each year
Mhm.
to try new things. And it really becomes more of a challenge. Like I'm getting to the point where I'm really happy here. I'll just hang out at my house with my horses and my dogs and cook and take care of my family and that's all good. And it's not really good. It's not enough. I have really struggled with that. And I don't know if it started with COVID a little bit, the vulnerability and you kind of don't know what's going to happen. You get a little more nervous about being out there.
Right.
But it doesn't even have to involve traveling. It has to involve just pushing yourself beyond limits
Agreed.
and not giving up on doing that.
So what is something that you're going to do not to be boring next year?
Well, one thing I really want to, and they're all kind of tied together. I made a little list, but I would like to study French cooking.
Mm.
Obviously, I think I'm pretty good at most cooking, and Italian comes naturally, but I would really like to study and learn French cooking. The cuisine is fabulous, and there's such an art to the way that the French prepare their meals and embrace their cuisine that I would really like to study that.
And you're going to invite me, right? And cook for
Absolutely.
me.
And you bring
And
the wine.
I'll bring the wine and you're going to cook we'll bring French wine and do that.
Yeah,
We actually, when we were putting our list together of things that we want, we're going to not be boring next year. We actually had something in common. We both said gardening. And for
we
me,
did.
that's a huge word for me. I always like to say I have brown thumb, which is not fair because I shouldn't really say that. That's negative thinking. I don't really have a brown thumb. Maybe it's like a yellow thumb. It's
Like
not quite green.
olive
Well,
color.
yeah, I mean, like I'm killing plants left and right outside. But
But that's not that hard to do in the climates we live in. I mean,
yeah,
give yourself some grace.
okay, I'll give but I want to plant flowers and I want to plant color in my backyard. So that is gardening. Now, you're of course much bigger than that. You're what, master organic?
I want to master organic gardening. And by that, I don't want to become a master. I just want to master the process because I want to have my property more sustainable and get my
Yeah,
vegetables and my fruits from my home.
I
So
love that.
and there's an art to it,
Yeah,
obviously, and there's a big learning curve and it's a little daunting. So I
there
know I'm
is.
going to need some help, but I'm going to do it.
I love that. One of the things that I jumped into a little bit last year, and I'm really have jumped into it this year, and that's art. I'm a Zentangler. I love
Mhm.
doing it's a pencil kind of drawing, and you do these, it's very fine art, and you sit there and you focus. And for me, that's great, gets me out of my head. I'm going to
Yeah.
do more of that. And I have a whole art like it's not a gallery, I've got an art center with drawers of pens, and I have to use it, but they're sitting there. So that's the first step, right? Of not
Mhm.
being, I'm going to do more art. And so that's one of the things I'm going to do. What about you?
I'm a voracious reader. I want to read more memoirs. I don't tend to read a lot of them, and I have read a few this past year, and there's so many fascinating stories of good and not so good people through our history that I want to read, add memoirs to my list.
I'm okay. So, one of the things that we talked about in one of the previous shows, I think it was 2 weeks ago, was about your ethical will,
Mhm.
and I had talked about my family, that they used to do these reunions all the time, and then they just stopped. So this year, I am coordinating a family reunion for
That's
for
beautiful.
the whole family. And in the past we did it on Zoom and online. This is going to
Right.
be an in-person thing. And so
That's a photo that you could add to your ethical will.
that's
Get
true.
a
That's
group
very
photo.
true. I'm excited about that. I'm
That's
really excited.
beautiful. I
I feel
love
like
that.
it's my mission. I have to do this. I want to do this. I have to do this. What
Well,
else are
so
you
one
doing?
more thing I want to do that kind of ties into the gardening and probably the French cooking because I'll just wander out to my garden and grab some things to cook for the night is I want to build a chicken coop because I
Of
want
course
to
you
have
do.
my own eggs. And I have a friend who did it. And I mean, she's from Tennessee. She grew up on hundreds of acres in Tennessee and she builds everything in the backyard herself. And I'm thinking I could do that. I don't know how it'll turn out, but I'm going to try. So that'll take
I
some reading and educating myself on something I absolutely have no idea about. And that I think is going to give me a lot to talk about and laugh at myself about because I can just picture myself out there stuck in a chicken coop with chickens crawling all over
all
me.
over the place. So that kind of begs the question, what about you guys? What do you want to do this year? How are you going to step out of what you're doing right now, so that you're not going to be boring in this next stage? What are you going to do? We want to know because
Yeah,
maybe we'll compile a list.
I think that would be great.
Oh, I like that.
Because like your art list, I can't paint, God had a budget and he didn't give me that. But to take on something so creatively and learn something new is beautiful. And I think that other people's ideas will inspire whatever it is. Maybe it's take flute lessons, whatever, whatever you're drawn to.
So I'm thinking that what we'll do is that we want to know what you want to do, and you guys already know we have an Instagram broadcast channel. Let us know that you would like to participate in there as somebody who can write in there. Let us know, and you can put your comments in there to let us know what you're going to do, not to be boring. We will
Absolutely.
compile them all, and we'll put them out as a list. I think
I
that's
love
a
it.
lot of
It's a
fun.
great list, and it can be an ever-growing list.
Yeah, I'm
Keep adding to it because we're not boring. New things
because we're
keep
not
happening.
boring. We might be tired, but we're not boring.
We're tired. We're
Yeah,
challenged, but we're
we
not
are.
boring. We're
Don't
not.
forget, check
Cheers
down
to that.
below in the copy. We have all sorts of links there. We have everything in there. So go check it. And we'll see you next month. Oh my God.
Oh my, I know. Thank you so much for starting this new year with us. We hope you enjoyed January. Can't wait to see what we have in store for February. Ciao.